All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday. It is that time of the week. Apologize for the little delay that we had. It was completely my fault. I had some scheduling things I had to get rearranged, but thanks to Dex and his availability to help out and to adjust his schedule. We are here for another installment of the Trading Terrordome with Dex The Algocapitalist. We did a little talking before the show started, and we're going to go a little interactive on this broadcast, and show you some things, open up the chat room, build some engagement. So sit back, relax, grab a notepad out, get ready to take some notes. So Dex, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm alive. I'm here. Good to be back.
Bro.
Good to be back, man. Good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you, and thank you so much for adjusting the schedule for today to bring this broadcast live to our audience. Let's jump into it, man. So what is going on?
Well, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of nothing at all going on. So I'll start with the lot, and then we'll go with the nothing at all. Okay, so right now, for those of you who don't know, Trump came on and did a live thing just a few minutes ago, and he gave very stern words to North Korea and said that if North Korea threatens the U.S. with missile strikes anymore, that basically he's going to nuke them. And when he said that, the market just shot straight down. All the stock indexes were positive up until that point, and then everything just gave up the ghost. And then as soon as the press conference was over and they were able to spin what the president said in a nice way, then the stocks moved off their lows. And now the market just closed, and we're only down, a few points, nothing really to talk about or sneeze at. But it was kind of questionable there for a minute if we were going to just, if the markets was just going to crash because they're afraid of a nuclear war. I can't stress the importance of this news. Normally, I would just ignore this type of news. It's just more foolishness. But this was not a joke. This was not a test. You could tell that what the president said, he was extremely serious. He was not playing around. He was not playing. You could hear it in the tone of his voice and the words that he chose when he said that he would rain hell down on North Korea, worse than what the world has ever seen before. And those are the president's quotes. That really had people shook, thinking
Right,
about, oh my
right.
goodness, is this going to be World War III, nuclear war, whatever? So, and he left it like that. I mean, he didn't play mince words. He left it just like that. So I can't tell you the seriousness of that because it actually really moved the markets. It spooked the markets. Nothing seems to have spooked these markets before. Talks about interest rates and debt and stimulus and employment, unemployment, you name it. Nothing has ever been able to really roil this parabolic bull market. But today, these words meant something, and people took it exactly the way the president meant it. So with that being said, that kind of changed some things a little bit. I have to give you guys the truth. I keep it 100 with y'all. I keep it real with you. Um, and I know you guys can see the screen, so let me just go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. This right here is the daily chart of Russell. Now, the Russell's been a little bit the weakest out of all of them here. So I'm going to pull up the weekly chart just to put things in perspective a little bit. Give me just a second. And I want to show you something. All right. You see how this market has just been pretty much just straight up since February of 2016. That's where the cursor is right here now. We've just gone straight up, all right, all the way up to 1452. You went from 943 to 1452, just like that, right? You can see how really through all this time, we've had all kind of news events and what have you, but nothing has really broken the stride of this market, all right? But then all of a sudden, And if I can make this bigger here, these last 3 bars right here on the right, we've been developing a little bit of a down channel. Every down channel that we've had has been bought. The last 3 bars right here, bought. Now we're doing the same thing again now. So it's really not a big deal per se, because then you come over here and I'll show you the NASDAQ real quick, the NDX. And you can see here, same thing. Every correction has been bought. I've been showing you guys end of day report videos and pre-market post scan videos showing you the same thing. And here's the, the mighty NASDAQ. You don't really see anything bearish on this chart. All right. This is the weekly chart. There's nothing bearish on the chart. But what happened was when they broke in and gave that news conference, we went from being, trading near the highs to coming down here and putting in a new low, taking out the overnight low, and then we managed to close a little bit higher from that. So this is a telling picture right here. I wish I had my other computer visible. You could see some of the algorithms, but as of right now, this is important, because if the market does not recover in the overnight market, what's going to end up happening is you're going to see the full-blown toppage that I was telling everybody about. In today's morning's video, I showed you the topping out pattern of the markets. For the last several weeks, I was warning about the July, on or around July 31st, all things being equal, if we're going to have an inverse chart of the 2012 stock market, then that's what will happen. Back in the 2012 stock market, we had we basically had a rallying, like a bottoming around July 31st, and then we rallied from there. But since we've already rallied on this one, it's the inverse, or a topping around the end of July, beginning of August, and then you correct from there. So regardless of what the catalyst is, regardless if you want to use the president's speech as a catalyst or not, it's still showing that we are looking at a possible topping pattern in the stock market. Doesn't mean that that we're not going to have another run at the highs at here, like on the NASDAQ, we hit 59.95 3/4. Doesn't mean we're not going to try to run and break 6,000 first in the NASDAQ 100 before we pull back. But it's just letting you know that this is that pattern. Also, while everyone else, I don't know what's up with the U.S. dollar. I think people are just so biased when it comes to, they hear the word dollar. But everyone's saying, oh, the dollar, catastrophic, this and that. And I was telling people, no, it's not. You don't get it. The dollar is bottoming here, folks. And you're about to be sorely disappointed. And what did we see? The dollar ran up to almost 94 today, hit 93.87. All right, so that's a power surge right there. And then here's a funny thing. Bitcoin breaks out too. All right. And the messed up part is, if you look at the equity side of things, they didn't. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. All right. Since you guys can see me, here is your equity side of the Bitcoin. All right. You can see that here. All right. Gapped up nicely for this week. Old highs of 565. It's trying to take that out. That's where the market wants to really go. All right. It wants to take this into consideration and challenge this right here. Okay. Now, in this space, you have a penny stock, ticker BTSC, very widely held, millions of shares, an average of 20 million shares traded on this thing a week, right? And look at it, it's red. It can't get up and go. There's been also talk about this particular stock that the individuals behind it don't know diddly squat about the whole how do I want to say this, the crypto space, and that they have no prior experience, a whole bunch of stuff. I think someone even did a white paper. I know a lot of people, a lot of the listeners brought it to my attention that this was not a really solid company, and they didn't like it. Now, me, I don't care about who the CEO is or what they do or what they manufacture. I care about price. But this particular ticker, even though it's a favorite, it does not move. It's not tracking the blockchain space like the GBTC is.
Mm-hmm.
However, BITCF, I'll pull that up just so you guys can see for yourself. BITCF, can't make this stuff up. It's tracking perfectly. Look at that. It's rising with the Bitcoin, which is great. It's tracking with the Bitcoin like it's supposed to. All right, a lot better than the other ones. Now, as far as the big major players in the Bitcoin space, NVIDIA and AMD, NVIDIA has been nothing but a powerhouse. All right, we hit 174.56 today on the exchange before it pulled back. All right, so as Bitcoin is hitting new highs, so is NVIDIA, right? Everything is moving smoothly the way it's supposed to. What
And
people
that's going to
didn't,
continue to grow. You want to explain why that's happening, Dex? What NVIDIA?
I was just about to. I'm typing it in right now. All right, this is why. Okay, people hate this chart. This is the U.S. dollar. Now, for a while, the Bitcoin was moving with the dollar. They moved lockstep. Bitcoin has since broken away from the U.S. dollar. All right, entirely. That's just how it is. Now, on some days they'll move together, but for the most part, it's broken away from it, and now it's trying to recover. But right now, it's looking like they're about to lock back in again. People don't like the analogy when I say when you've seen Bitcoin, you've seen the dollar, and vice versa. But that's because they have not watched my documentary that I did here on YouTube called The Fed versus the Blockchain. You need to watch that so that you can understand why Bitcoin behaves the way it does and why the US dollar behaves the way it does. At the
Dex,
end of the
that's on your YouTube channel, right? Is that, I don't want to interrupt you. Is that on your
Yes,
YouTube channel? Okay, I thought so. Yep.
yep, it's on my YouTube channel. And the reason being is because you're looking at the new reserve currency. The new reserve currency, for all intents purposes, is the Bitcoin. It's the blockchain technology. All right. That's why there's been such a rush for sovereign nations to put their currency on the blockchain. All right, and make their currency a Bitcoin. All right, the U.S. dollar is no different. Yeah, it's still the world reserve currency, but they don't want it to operate the way it's been operating. They want it to get on the blockchain. Blockchain is the new apparatus that the government's going to use to really crack down and control movement of currency and people. And I go into that in the documentary. You're also going to want to check out the There Is No Collapse documentary, because that's where I first go into the idea of the blockchain situation well in advance before anyone even thought about what this was going to be. So I did warn people. I told them that Russia is trying to do it, and other places are doing it, and there are going to be many more countries doing it. It's just what it is. The dollar's not dead, people. The dollar's not dying. All right, it's just transforming. It's going from a caterpillar and turning into a beautiful butterfly. All right, that's what you guys need to understand. Fiat is not dead. Fiat is never going anywhere. It's just transforming itself from a physical, tangible medium of exchange to a digital one. That's it. All right, because they can control the digits. That's why they've been sucking up cash and charging you money when you want to convert digital currency into cash, physical cash. It costs money to do that. That's why 20 years ago they started this process of sucking money, physical money, out of the banking system. That's why you see more armored vehicle trucks on the road than you've ever seen before. And that's because they have to go to the bank and they have to take all excess cash out of the physical branches and drive it down to the Federal Reserve. If your local branch needs more money, to contact the Federal Reserve, make an appointment, armored truck will drop it off to you. That's how that
Yep.
works.
Can I say something to that real quick?
Yeah.
Next regards to the cash at the banks, and I worked in the finance industry for several years, and I know firsthand that in terms of how those cash shipments and how those cash orders take place, and a lot of people have this misconception that, well, each individual bank has millions of dollars of cash. No, these banks and these bank managers are they have very strict guidelines in terms of the amount of cash that they let them keep in their vaults. In fact, they tie it directly to their quarterly and their annual incentives that gives them a threshold plus or minus about 10%. So on average, your large banks, your commercial banks, they probably have maybe 500, 750,000 dollars on cash. And keep in mind that that is also included in terms of the ATM. And I think an average ATM holds about 150. Some of the larger hold 200 grand. So it just one of those things that when there's a run on the banks, and especially with smaller banks that are limited with the amount of cash that they have, it can happen pretty darn quick.
Correct. And in that vein, someone just asked in the chat, they said, so you never envision a day when blockchain will free humanity? Sovereign states will be a thing of the past? The answer to that is yes and yes. In other words, freedom as everyone has come to know it is over. It been died. It died a horrible death. All right. No matter what happens, there's always going to be someone that wants to rule. In our case, we have, what's the word people like to use? Cabal, you name it, whatever word you want to use. The powers that be that are in power now have pretty much insulated themselves to remain there forever. And I don't mean the names and faces that you're familiar with. I mean the power behind the power, the names and faces you don't know. They're not going anywhere. Okay. So, yeah, the blockchain horse is out of the barn, Tracy, and it's not going back in. You're right. It's out there. But I don't want everyone to get so excited thinking that this is going to free things up. It's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to tighten things up. All right. I talked about this so much before, and I think people don't remember a lot of this stuff. So let me just rehash a little bit of it for you. All right. I told you that the higher the Dow goes, the poor individuals will become. I told you that years ago. And you're seeing that manifesting today. It's happening. It's a done deal. But you haven't seen anything yet, folks. I told you that you were going to see, price action go berserk. We still ain't seen the highs yet, in my opinion. Before everything comes down or whatever, I don't think we're going to see. I think in my lifetime, let me just put it this way. I think in our lifetime, we may see Dow 150,000 before all is said and done. And I mean that in all seriousness. Now, what about precious metals? What about the mining sector? Okay. All right. Well, here we are. Remember, these are the last bastions of freedom. Those of you who want to talk about, freedom and individual sovereignty, things of that nature. That's what gold represents. Okay. Gold is that thing that we know is money, and it's tangible money. It's the last bastion of tangible money. All right. And the powers that be know that. That's why they have to do whatever they can to make it so that it's out of favor. All right. Even though they're hoarding it themselves because they want to control it, it's out of favor. It's not in vogue like the Bitcoin is. So what they're doing is, and I've been seeing some of this too, people trying to create a crypto back with the gold and the silver, physical. All right. That's going to be short-lived because there are too many nuances that come with tying your money to the gold system. That's why they got off the gold system. There's pluses and minuses, positives and negatives to everything. But the reason being is because, think about it. Before there was Bitcoin and blockchain, there was gold, right? And silver. Gold and silver is the original blockchain because it's limited in the supply, just like Bitcoin is, right? It's limited in supply. You can only have it so much of it. Once it's gone, right? All they've done is made it so that now they've created an artificial piece of gold. All right. So Bitcoin, the whole crypto space is the artificial gold and silver now. That's really what it is. If you want to really break it down, um, it's all fluff. It's just what they produce out of nothing. All right. These numbers come out of nowhere. And so what's going to end up happening is you're going to see more and more so-called market prosperity. And I want to pause for a second because there's still a lot of people, man, on social media saying that this market is not real. All right, first of all, that statement in and of itself is ridiculous because if something's not real, that means it's not tangible. It's not fungible. All right? Like if I say I had a dream last night. Okay, I had a dream. You didn't see it. You can't reach your hand out and touch my dream. Therefore, my dream has no basis in reality. You can say that's not real. Okay, it's real to you, but it's not really real to the rest of the world. This market rally is very much real. Even though you don't understand why the price is going up, the price is going up. If I buy a brick for $5 and then sell that brick for $100,000 and someone gives me $100,000, guess what? I just made $100,000. You're gonna tell me that that's not real? What, it was pretend money, or I made it up in my head? No, I made that money. When you bought your Bitcoin, when Bitcoin first came out, it was a penny, and now it's over $3,000. You're gonna say that you don't really have $3,000 in your account? So you don't. So you don't have 3,000 coins in your account. Okay, well, fine. Then that's not real then to you, but it is very real. Okay, everything you're seeing is real. There's nothing fake about it. The only thing that's fake is some news stories. But when it comes to money and what's happening in these markets, what's happening in these economies, it's very real. People don't want to believe it because they missed out on it. Oh, I'm not going to get in the stock market because it's not real. It's the Fed inflating prices or doing whatever he's doing. Doesn't matter who's behind it or what it's doing. All right, it is what it is. All right, it is real. All right.
Dex, let me interject there for just 1 second. So, what you're saying makes sense in terms of if you think about everyone keeps stating that like the banks most recently was a perfect example where banks took a lot of their profits and then they turned around and they used it to do stock buybacks, which is occurring in a lot of different arenas of the stock market. However, that doesn't change the perspective that it's still real. They're still doing it,
Right.
and that money that's flowing in is actually raising the stock price, hence into the stock market. So that's very real.
And you know what else is real? The manipulation of the gold and silver price on the exchange is just one aspect of the manipulation. The real manipulation is how they're doing this to hurt the miners. Because remember, if the shiny metal is deemed worthless in the public's eye, then the miners are going to go belly up. And that's what you've been seeing. All right, because it doesn't benefit them to mine the stuff, or they can't afford to operate. So you can't have prices get too cheap, right? So they've been doing just enough to keep everything going, but to make it so that you don't have anywhere to run. The powers that be know that if they take their thumb off the gold and silver price and allow the thing to move like it's supposed to in a free market environment with buyers and sellers, then that will push prices to the stratosphere because people who know better say, nope, at the rate we're going, hyperinflation is possible, deflation is possible, stagflation is possible. You add the Asian at the end of it, is possible. And they are going to hoard and go in and do what they got to do. Look at India and China and other countries. They've been buying up physical like crazy, all right, because they know better. They're not stupid. But if you look at the exchange price, it's saying that it's basically worthless. You know what I'm saying? I'm being, I'm using hyperbole here. We know gold and silver is not worthless, but in the eyes of the general public, it is. You dig what I'm saying? You could go do the man on the street thing and say, hey, tell you what, would you rather have this $100 bill or this gold coin? And most people would say they'd rather have the $100 bill than the 1 ounce gold coin because they don't know any better. All right, that's the average man on the street thing. But remember, perception for people who are uninformed is reality. So as long as they can keep the perception going that it's not a good idea to own physical, then that'll keep the prices, help keep the price at bay, because they see the banks, central banks, coming in and smashing down the price to raise money to keep the stock market up. And then other people, they come on board and they say, well, I'm gonna short it too. I'm not gonna fight the Fed here. If they're dumping, I gotta sell short too and make money. I mean, it's just common sense. So the only way this turns is when they stop doing that. And at what point they're going to stop doing it or be able to lose control of the market by doing that, who is to say? I don't know what that that inflection point is going to be. I just know at some point it is definitely going to happen. And when it does, you will see gold and silver and the mining stocks move up thousands of percent. It's just like the Bitcoin when that first came out. And there were the naysayers, oh, that's just foolishness. And the people who were in it would say, no, you don't understand. One day this is going to be amazing. And here it is. Can you imagine if you had, just again, using hyperbole, can you imagine if you had, 1,000 Bitcoins, when that thing first came out? Can you imagine that?
Right.
And how much money you have today,
Yeah, and in some sense, if you think about that as well, think of the J.P. Morgan financial advisors. Think of the Morgan Stanley. Do you think that their goal is to meet with their clients and share bad data after a quarterly basis? But they utilize this as a tool in terms of the market to bring more money in.
I'm
And if
glad you
they know
touched on that
most of,
point. I was just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to state, that in most recent training, most recent analysis that came through for JP Morgan, that they show that currently their non-private client investors, I'm talking about the regular, Chase, JP Morgan Chase, that it's explained that when you have deposit accounts, whether it's checking or savings, and maybe they have a CD, that you're still only obtaining approximately 10% of that person's wealth, that there is several other dollars to go for, and that's what they lean towards. So if these financial advisors are reporting, oh yeah, the market's down, well, your account lost another, $100 for this month, I'm sorry about that. So with their ability to build confidence in the market, that allows a lot more money for people to flow into the stock market.
Yes, and in addition to that they don't stop there. There was an article out today also where they were examining the sell side of the analyst spectrum, and a lot of these big firms were laying off, their stock analysts, because here's the thing: no one right now is giving any kind of selling analysis on any stock, on any sector. It's all buy everything in sight. And people are starting to lean more now on the algorithm side of things. They're depending on artificial intelligence to tell them things and to analyze things for them instead of using real people. That in and of itself is also giving a major jolt to the markets, because if everyone is saying buy, then everyone else is going to jump on and start buying. Well, if Goldman Sachs is buying it and they got a lot of money, obviously that's going to push the price up. Let me get in on that one too. And that's, again, perception. But in reality, it has nothing to do with it. It's people using their so-called name, all right, renting their name to certain sectors and segments of the economy to help bolster more pandemonium in the markets on the upside, that is. And that's what's happening right now. So it doesn't have to be so complicated. It just is what it is. Right now, you got the Fed backstopping everything. You got Trump cheerleading. Everyone's cheerleading. They've even brought back Greenspan. You've seen him now more on television than you did back when he was on with Clinton. All right, and it's just they're doing everything they can to keep the party and the champagne flowing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see it really stopping no time soon. Even if I'm right, and this is the topping pattern, and this market rolls over in the next couple of weeks, it ain't gonna stay down. It's gonna be some profit taking, but you know what? It's gonna get right back up again, and in 2018, we're gonna start all over again. This Dow is not going anywhere. And I'll say this too: gold and silver, remember, guys, it's complicated. Gold and silver and the mining sector, it's complicated because gold and silver is money, but it's also a commodity. So there are going to be multiplicity of factors that is going to continue to haunt the precious metals, period, because everything that is that is prone to the commodity space is going to affect them too, because they are commodities. So whatever the dollar does or doesn't do is going to affect the price too. And then supply and demand issues, and then remember interest rates come into play also. It's just so many things that is just running into it. It makes it on par, and I'm surprised more people aren't coming clean and explaining this to people. Gold and silver, in my opinion, based on all these different factors, is no different than what goes into the basket to make up the U.S. dollar and the different forex pairs like the euro, yen, and all that stuff. That's how complicated it is to try to understand the macro and micro factors involved in the foreign exchange environment. And unfortunately, gold and silver are part of that, not only because people know it, even though they don't want to admit it. Gold and silver is still considered money, even to the foreign powers. That's why they're buying up the precious metals. They know it's money. At the end of the day, it's still money. So it is going to be complicated on how those price behaviors fluctuate. They even have the spot metal price tradable at the forex desk. So of course that's complicated. It's going to continue to be complicated. And
Just
I
yeah,
think
I agree. It just doesn't have that portability or that exchange flexibility that it needs. Still has value. However, if you're going to purchase something in California from New York, it made it a little bit difficult to just send gold via carrier or something for payment for
right.
exchange.
All right, look, I'll break it down even simpler than that, my man. Peep this. If gold and silver was a stock, if gold was a stock called gold and silver was a stock called silver, all right, right now, the price would be unaffordable on the exchange. You wouldn't be able to trade it. You wouldn't be able to buy one share of it. Want to know why? Because unfortunately, you don't see or hear on the news that China, the actual country, is buying up as many shares of Google as it can or many shares of Apple computers it can. No, no. What do you hear? China and India is buying up X amount tons of gold or tons of gold. That's what you hear. You don't hear that with an individual stock. So can you imagine if it was a stock? It would be priceless because you got superpowers, you got countries buying it. All right. So the reason why it's not moving up and to the stratosphere is because of those other political factors that I talked about. It's a commodity, but it's also a currency, so that makes it complicated. And then, of course, the Fed can't allow it to get but so much away from them because then it will ruin the other political landscape here at home as well as abroad. Because remember, they're operating under the auspices that, hey, guess what? We're in a recovery. The economy is recovering. Our GDP is rising. Our unemployment numbers are dropping. All right. Everything is great here. Everything is great. Everything is great. They won't be able to sell that if gold is trading at $20,000 an ounce and silver's trading at $10,000 an ounce. They won't be able to sell that lie. You feel me? And you
But
can't.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why they have to continue to do what they're doing. I mean, look at it this way too. We all know it's been proven now. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact that the gold and silver markets have been manipulated by large firms like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. It's a fact. All right. It's a fact. Has anyone gone to jail? How about
Not
the
at all.
LIBOR fixing scandal?
Hmm.
How about Deutsche Bank? Has anyone gone to prison? No, Jamie Dimon and those guys are considered heroes. So that should tell you everything you need to know what we're dealing with here. But it does not change the fact that you still have to have your physicals. You have to hold them. Just because it's not snowing outside doesn't mean you still don't need to keep your snow boots. Because when the weather changes, you're going to wish you had them if you don't.
Absolutely.
So, moving on. The other issue I want to talk about is what's been going on here with in the crypto space. I get a lot of messages and things about all these new ICOs coming out and stuff like that. All I can tell people, look, man, be careful of all these ICO things coming out. All right, trying to get on the next craze. Oh, this ICO is coming out. If I can get it for a couple of pennies, I can buy thousands of shares, and the next thing you know, I'll be a multimillionaire. Stop. That is no different than the penny stock game. Just to stop it. Stop it. Please stop it. If you want to buy something cheap, like I told you, buy some Litecoin. All right, you can go in there, buy some Steam. All right, that's affordable for you. All right, you can do that. All right, if you can't afford Bitcoin, you're gonna be all right. Trade these markets and have at it. But just be careful with these ICO things. There's been so much news coming out with fraud in these things and people getting duped. Just please don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. Stay with the things that you know that are true. All right. So Veritasium, Ethereum, Litecoin, Steam, those things work. That's all I can tell you. All the rest of them, do what you're going to do. I told you the ones that I track. Those are the ones I track. The ones I named are the ones I track. Because at the end of the day, based on my research, those are the ones that are going to exist when all the dust settles. And the 1,000+ coins that exist today, they're not going to be around. Within the next 5 years, it's not going to be this many.
Yeah, Dex, I don't know if you can see it, and I just threw up the crypto
Yeah, I see it.
markets. Okay, yeah.
Yep, I see it. Yeah, I got it open on my other computer. So it is what it is, man. And that's another thing too. I've been noticing too, guys. I'm switching gears a little bit now. Okay, I'm a little concerned. That some kind of hiccup is about to be thrown our way. I don't know what it is, so I'm not even going to try to speculate. I'm just going to spit something at you real quick, and I'll let the listeners decide for themselves what they think. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Lately, I've been seeing more and more people come out of the woodwork passing themselves off as financial advisors of some sort, especially when it comes to stock market and trading, and even especially in the crypto space. Oh, make $11,000 a day. Let me show you how to do it trading Bitcoin or trading this coin or that coin. You ain't never seen or heard these people talk about nothing about no market before. They're hustlers. They see an opportunity. They think that you guys are weak and silly and are going to flow to them and pay them a bunch of money, and you're going to lose all your money. All right. I said this before, you guys, and I think it's time I need to say it again. Please watch who you listen to. That's all I got to say. All right. Do your due diligence. All right. If you think somebody if you don't be one of those people that you looking for the next, Warren Buffett or something like that. No, Warren Buffett is Warren Buffett. Okay. And to be quite honest with you, if you guys have never studied it, you probably gonna want to and learn who Warren Buffett really is, because he's not who people think he is either. Most people, when they hear Warren Buffett, they think, oh, it's amazing stock picker, this amazing trader. No, that's not Warren Buffett. That's not who he is. He is a wheeler and a dealer. That's what he is.
Right.
And he got to where he is, and you will not be able to duplicate his story. I just need to put that out there. There's not anyone else that I know that's come anywhere near Warren Buffett. His story is his story. His walk is his walk. You cannot recreate that. He had a lot of certain things going his way that we don't have time to get into today, and you cannot duplicate his success. You can try, but I guarantee you, you will not be able to duplicate his success. And what he won't tell you is that he doesn't even use those old models and formulas anymore because it doesn't work in today's marketplace. So I'm off of that horse.
No. You're exactly right, and that's why each person has to take a look at almost very much a customized approach. Very unique to what works for them, for their family. Whoever they're listening to doesn't know their income, may not know their debt, may not know their obligations, their kids, and so you have to do some research, do your part, but most importantly, don't just go throwing your nest egg at one crypto or one thing. I mean, that's just we don't want to see anyone get hurt through through these gains.
Right, and my man Holly in the chat, that's right. Look, there is a lot of news people out here. I think they're excellent journalists. All right, excellent journalists, but they're not traders. You need to understand that. Just because someone bought Bitcoin and got lucky and made a fortune does not make them a financial advisor or a trading guru. Please be careful who you listen to out here, folks. That's all I got to say. And, look at people's track record too. If they just made a YouTube channel yesterday and now all of a sudden they talking about finance this and finance that. I mean, there you go right there. What else do you need to know? All right. Come on now. That's all I'm saying, folks. That's all I'm saying. I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. All right. You want
with that? Why don't we? You want to open up the chat room a little bit and do a little bit of Q&A? Is that cool?
Yeah. Why not?
All right. We'll give it. Yeah. So everyone, we're going to open up the chat room and yeah. So throw your question in the chat. We'll review some of these and let's go a little bit interactive here. So who's first?
Yeah. Who's first? What y'all
they all want to ask questions as we're chatting everything, but then the moment we ask about
I know
it's like a deep freeze.
I know, man. It is what it is. Well, let me just say this real quick while they're thinking about what they want to ask. As of today's price action, bonds did get weak, but then they recovered. So now we're back above 154. So you know what that is. That's still strength. Let's see, Dex, what do you think of Max Keiser shift debate on Bitcoin? To be quite honest with you, I have not heard that debate, but I know of Max Keiser and I know of Mr. Schiff. And I would say that Max Keiser is probably more well-versed on Bitcoin than Mr. Schiff, to be quite honest with you on that one. Let's see, the hedge fund guys are trying to move into Bitcoins. Of course, they want to move into anything that makes money. But just because something's a hedge fund doesn't mean they know how to trade. Most hedge funds lose money and close up shop, just so y'all know that. What they do is, there are a couple of ways they do it. Some hedge funds, the dude is born for silver spoon in his mouth. Daddy throws, clients and money at him. His fund gets big. They do a few things, take advantage of some loopholes in the law, make money, and then when that loophole's closed, they close up their doors and they're done. So that's that. So just because it's a hedge fund doesn't mean jack. Just because it has a lot of money in the fund doesn't mean jack. Let's see, Dex, $100 Litecoin this year. I don't know about 100. I think if all things being equal, we probably will see 60. All right, maybe even 80 if it gets too happy. But I think we need some kind of catalyst. But no, I don't see 100 this year. But I do see 100 definitely somewhere in the near future. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I understand you think the dollar will be put on the blockchain. Will it still be debt backed? As long as the Federal Reserve is involved in it, yes, it will be. Let's see. Question, Dex. I'm selling off my mining and PM related stocks. What do you think? I've waited long enough. Well, depending on what your cost basis is, you're going to always want to put stop losses on stocks when you buy them anyway, so that you don't just get out on emotion. You let the market take you out because maybe your timing was off on a particular trade or what have you. So yeah, put a stop in. If it takes you out, then you're out. Yeah, and then you wait to get back in. You won't miss the boat as long as you are following the price trends. Will manipulation be the same in Bitcoin if Wall Street starts trading Bitcoin futures? Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And yes, they are in the process of doing that right now. Let's see. Dex, can you talk about paper trading a bit? People getting their mechanics on trading down before entering markets, etc. Okay, yeah. Well, paper trading has its pros and its cons. All right. One of the pros of paper trading is that you get to test out or test drive your broker's technology, see how the orders go in, see how they're filled, etc. So that's what paper trading should be used for, to get your execution down on your broker's platform. But as far as it teaching you the nuances of trading and how to trade, it's bad because it takes away the emotion in it. In other words, you're not going to trade the same way with a fictitious $50,000 account than you will in real life with your own $50,000 at risk. You're not going to take unnecessary risk and do dumb things when real money's on the line. So I don't like paper trading in that aspect of it. I only would say do it to get used to a broker's platform, but other than that, I wouldn't use it to train yourself. The best way to learn trading is with real money and real markets. Let's see.
I
Any
like
feelings?
Eli's. I like Eli's question. Did you see that one?
Chuck D, the most
Chuck D,
woke
the most
lyricist?
woke.
No, no, I wouldn't say he's the most woke lyricist. No, he's one of the all-time greats, but nah. Let's see. Any feelings on uranium? Not at the moment. It's like coal basically right now. It's not doing too much. Let's see. How can Wall Street avoid price discovery on Bitcoin futures? Um, I don't know how they're going to set it up. They have the different ways and methodologies they can do. It may fail, or it could fail. It could go the way of single stock futures. Remember that back in 2000, those single
Yeah,
stock futures.
yeah.
We thought that was going to change the game in the futures business. We were so happy, and then when it fell flat, it was like, what a dud. So who knows? I would like for it to work. Let's see. Stable stock dangerous? I don't know what you mean. Let's see. Isn't decentralization the entire point of crypto? I don't understand how a traditional market will stay viable if everything is moving to blockchain. That's a good point you bring up. And you're right. The point of it is decentralization. But understand, too, you can't have something that powerful and not have the government want it for themselves and to see if there's any military application to it or whatever. It's like the joke that you have, when you sit around the house and you talk and you watch movies with your family, like we do. Sometimes we'd be like, okay, what would you do? Or, how would you feel if you woke up one day, you had superpower. Let's say you had the power of invisibility or the power where you could touch anyone and they would be healed of any disease, or if you could travel back in time or forward in time, whatever. Fill in the blank, right? And we always come back to this one answer. You know what the answer is? The government would kidnap you and put you down in one of their dumbs and do all types of tests on you to see if they can, steal and suck your energy and recreate you or whatever, or reverse engineer you for themselves. We always come back to that because it is what it is. Look at the Avengers and stuff. Look at Wolverine, his story. You know, they wanted him for themselves. That's what that was about. They didn't care about Logan, the person. They cared about, his abilities, the X-Men's abilities and what that meant for them with military applications and things of that nature. It was never about the person. Let's see here. Let's see. Disney just pulled its movies from Netflix. Should I stack AG? I haven't really looked into that one. I don't want to
Haven't
steer
heard
you
that
wrong.
yet.
So I don't have an opinion on that. I'm sorry. But if anything, I would say watch AG and watch Disney. Let's see how the price action moves and just go with the flow. Let's see. What are your favorite shows on Netflix? I have a couple, man. Off the top of my head, House of Cards is all that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And right now, I'm starting to watch Ozark. Getting into that.
Oh, I just finished Ozark. I just finished it. I
Oh,
could not stop.
don't tell me
I'm
that,
not
because
gonna
so
say where.
far
I'm not gonna say where. All I'm gonna tell you is that I finished the whole series like in 3 days.
let's see. Do you think Greenspan, etc., is Satoshi Nakamoto? Not him per se. I think probably the NSA, CIA, or some agency we never heard of. I think they're the ones that probably created the thing. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. Why is Very being slammed? Well, I think Very's being slammed for a lot of reasons. I'll tell you the main reason. I think it's because it's not on the major exchanges where people can really have easy access to it, and also because people are hating on it. They don't want him to prosper. A lot of people don't like Reggie. Y'all have to understand that. Okay, a lot of people do not like Reggie, um, and it goes beyond his nationality. It's what he's trying to do, and when people don't like you as a person and they see you trying to come up and do what he's doing, it makes it even worse. But yeah, I think a lot of it is racism too. Just my personal opinion. Is off grid possible with a digital currency? No, not at all. See, because it goes beyond the currency, people. It's beyond the currency. It has nothing to do with the currency. It's about the blockchain technology and what it can do. It's about its security applications. It's about its tracking abilities. It's so many things that they can do with this stuff. Is Dash a good crypto to invest in? I don't know anything about it personally, so I'll have to refer you to someone who knows more information on that one. I only follow the ones that I told you about because I looked into those, and I think those have a really, really bright future ahead of them. Let's see what else. Have you seen Ethereum.link, an attempt to disintermediate the COMEX? No, I haven't seen that. Haven't heard anything about that. But I guess it's worth looking into, though. Have I heard of Plantar AI system? No, not familiar with that.
All right.
With that said, hold on
we'll do a couple more. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Yeah, we'll do a couple more, and then we'll get some closing thoughts and end the show. But great questions, everyone, and really appreciate your support listening in to the live stream. And we later on this week we're working on a couple big shows, a couple other big interviews we'll be releasing on Rogue Money, and Dex will be back in just a moment. Another interesting article, and Dex alluded to this earlier, was the fact that JP Morgan has announced that they're looking at removing a lot of their trading desk for AI, for artificial intelligence with computers, just for the fact that their money that they're making, even though significant, they understand that computers can do the trading desk a lot more efficient. They don't cost benefits, all those things, and you can just do a quick Google search to validate that JP Morgan, replacing trading desks with computers, and it all comes up. They're going to start, I believe, in Europe and then North America. However, they'll be doing it in probably throughout their organization.
Oh yeah. Someone just asked too. They said, "Am I worried about 5G?" I'll be honest with you. I haven't looked into it that much, but I fail to really see what the big deal is. I'm more concerned about what they have up their sleeve with the blockchain, to be quite honest with you. 5G means nothing. It's the control apparatus behind the technology that people should be concerned about. Look at it this way too. Look at what we've been talking about so far. Our minds have been focused on other things, so that we forgot all about, you know, the other stuff that's been going on. So let's see the question: FANG stocks up or down from here to the end of the year? To be honest with you, I don't really see anything really stopping this market, man. This market is on fire. We've been in a parabolic market, especially in the NASDAQ 100. Look at my end-of-day reports, the last couple of ones I showed you. The market's just going straight up, even going out toward the end of the year. So it's possible. But remember, market calls don't really mean too much at the end of the day, because market forces and dynamics change minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day. The most important thing to keep in mind when you're looking at markets is price action and price inflection points. Price action tells you where the prices are headed, and the charts show you where they've been. Intraday price inflection points are important because it lets you know if something is about to change in any given market. It doesn't matter if you know whatever the news piece is or not. It's the price inflection points that tell you what's happening. Like, for instance, before I knew about the president coming on and talking about what he talked about today, I saw the price inflection point and the Russell was already taken out. And so I was able to watch it, and then I saw the other index started dumping. So I was like, oh, okay, what's happening? The next thing I know, here's the president coming on talking about, you know, nuclear war. So with that being said, nah, it's all about these price inflection points, people. It's never about, you know, there's a road. There's a point A and a point B. The thing we don't know is the points in between getting from A to B that can happen or go wrong to change, you know, that prognosis. So we have to just take what we have every day and watch for, you know, for clues of what's going on. If you have an investment, you have money, you know, in something, that's what you do. You don't just buy and hold. You have to have a trader's mentality, because when the markets change, you want to change with them. All right. What happens if let's say something happens? Phil, you can ad lib, fill in the blank all you want. But let's say something happens going forward from today, and Bitcoin drops down to $100 and stays there. What are you going to do? How would you protect yourself? How do you avoid that happening to yourself? And I can tell you, it's by setting those stop losses and putting them at the key price inflection points. How do you know what those price inflection points are? They're based on intraday data. They're based on algorithms and crunching all types of data and numbers. No charting software program can do that for you. That's why I developed post-wave price triggers. That's what I got. That's what I do. That's what I use. I'd be lost without it. So that's what I use, so that I know what's going to happen, and I can give it to you and tell you what's happening. That's the only reason why I'm able to do what I do, is because of it. So right now, to be quite honest with you, we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. We can just look at our analysis and say, okay, based on this is what I'm seeing. However, you got to have a plan so that if the opposite happens, how are you going to protect yourself and or benefit from it? That's all I'm saying. I mean, true story. For those of you who are not familiar with it, back during 9/11, back in my broker days, all right, I'm sitting at my desk. Back then, I had 2 phones with multiple lines on each phone, and I had 3 computers on my desk. All right, and I'm sitting there, and I'm doing my analysis like I used to do every morning, and I'm on the phone with my clients, and I'm saying, okay, I think the market is in a downtrend, and over the next 18 months, I think we're going to see a major correction in these markets. Therefore, I think it is a smart and prudent thing to do for us to go on and let's pile on some some shorts, and that's what I did. That's what I did. So we got in and put on some short Dow puts from the futures, all futures, no stocks. S&P, we did. It was the S&P and the Dow. The Nasdaq, at that time did not have a viable options market for the futures. So it was just the S&P and the Dow, and we just piled on as much as we could. And then something happened. We got lucky. 9/11 happened 2 weeks later. All right. So here we go. I was right about the direction of the market, but I didn't know that was going to happen in 2 weeks. All right. Something that's going to take almost 2 years to happen happens in 2 weeks. You feel me? So what would have happened had I had the opposite idea and I bought calls instead or what have you? If I wasn't there watching the market that day on 9/11, I would have been destroyed. And I'm giving it to you straight. The part of the story that you haven't heard is that on that fateful day of 9/11, I was sitting at my desk, me and one of my colleagues, and we were both about to push. We were just an inch away from clicking that button on that mouse and getting long the market that morning on the futures.
Wow. Wow.
I'm not kidding you, but something in our gut was like, I want to get long, but I can't do it, and I don't know why. And he looked at me. He said, Dex, I was thinking the same thing, but don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I was like, you're right. I'm just not going to do it. Let's just chill. And it was a beautiful day. We'll wait for the opening. Let's just see what happens. And that saved us. That's sitting there watching the screen and watching the ticks and watching how the price action is moving is what saved me. So my point is, even if you have an idea or a bias, you have to have a plan so that if you are incorrect, what are you going to do about it? And how can you take a negative and turn it into a positive? You feel me? So that is how you have to approach all of this stuff. And remember, at the end of the day, we don't know nothing. We're not part of the power elite. So we don't know what all the plans and the games and stuff are. We don't know. We don't know all of that, and we don't need to know. We just need to live our lives, take care of our families, and raise our children, and do what we do. And so I would advise everybody, if you are holding terrible positions in things and you just taking it on the chin, stop wasting your money. Get out of it. Take the loss and move on. That's part of trading and investing too. Is cutting losses. Don't just ride something all the way down to zero. Take the loss, and you can always get back in.
Great advice. Great advice. All right, everyone. Thank you, Dex, for a great show. A lot of information. And for our listeners, for the chat room, thank you for the questions. And until next week, and V will be back to host the next Trading Dome. So, Dex, a lot of fun today.
Yes, I always enjoy it, man. I always enjoy it.
All right. Take care, everyone. This is Dex and I. We are over and out.